So there was the night rolled on, and eventually he OD'd in the back seat, and my brain would not accept this. I can clearly see, all the signs are there, but my mind was paranoid about the cop showing up. My mind was paranoid about consequences. Like, this isn't supposed to happen. So I failed to act too late. And when I finally did, as we were like zooming down the one-way street to the hospital, like, I remembered I even knew CPR, and I jumped back and I tried to do it, but like bile was already coming up. And so it was very unfortunate, classic scenario, dropping him off at the ER and speeding away and stuff. That brought into a whole different frame of reference with this story, because all the consequences were on me at this point. All the consequences, I had to live with. But now this young man who if I wasn't on day 4 of being awake, or paranoid drug dealer, or high as a kite, or more than a kite, high as the freaking Neptune, planet, Jupiter, Saturn, whatever, he could still be with us. And what makes it even more tragic is 2 weeks after this, because my phone number was the last one he called, I get a phone call from his mother, deep Southern accent, like really hanging on to the vowels. And she was like, "Please don't hang up." She was just begging. She just wanted to know what happened to her baby boy. That's it. And I was like, my paranoid brain was like, it's the police. They're trying to get a confession. They're trying to get I really went there with all this paranoia. I hung up on her. And let me tell you, that phone call still echoes in my mind. And I tried to find her a year later. I tried to find her recently writing the book. So the reason the book exists to me is for this specific chapter. It is a message in a bottle to this mother. I wrote the book as if one person was reading or listening to it, and she's probably a 75-year-old, really white, really Christian Southern woman. She's a grandma. Savannah? Probably, easily. Yeah. Easily. And I wrote it for her. I'm trying to find her because I would love to just hug her. And I'm trying to let her know what happened to her son. So that was what ultimately motivated me to write the book. So,
do you know her name?
Nothing. There's little information for me to go on, and I did as much research as I could. If I knew her name, I would have found her, I'm sure. But like, I barely remember the hospital. Okay. I tried to find it in Atlanta. His obituary, I think, if I remember her accent, I feel like they weren't from Atlanta. The obituary would have been in the city he was from. So there's a lot of circumstance, and the supplier, that guy, don't have his number, don't know where he is. So there's a lot of things I don't know. But I'm eventually, I don't know, I could hire a PI to like go into some hospital files. I know the time period. That's it. But that terrified me so much that I was like, I'm not traveling anymore. This is great, and I'm like doing even more drugs. So one of my runners, he was a hairstylist, and he would do in-home hairstyling calls. This is what he still did, but he was also a major tweaker. And his business really skyrocketed when he would run drugs, or he would go to people's homes, do haircuts, and deal drugs for me. One of his clients was this girl whose boyfriend was trying to get in the business. The only hiccup was he was supposedly part of the Russian mafia. So it was like, when he first told me this, I was like, you're crazy. Goodbye. Get out of here with that. But now, desperate with the agents breathing down my neck, I'm not traveling anymore. I don't have any more supply. Let's go for it. What else? You know what? He's mafia. Maybe like I will definitely get my case dismissed. Maybe this is how I do this.
So can't get cartel. I'll get the Russian.
I don't, who knows what the fuck I'm thinking? Like,
God.
I mean, at the end of it, at the bottom of it, it's like, what I probably really am thinking is, I'm running out of drugs and I need more.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
And as it turns out, this guy had the best meth that I had ever had in my life, and the best meth the city had ever seen. And he just needed a connection to like really push it out. And he had pounds of it. I mean, I could push ounces, which is, break that down to like eighths. Like I could push it, I could push that out. And he was so attractive.
They always are.
when it got really bad and I started owing him a lot of money, like he was pinning me to the wall, putting the gun in my face, and all I'm thinking is like, kiss me, please kiss me. So messed up. I was definitely clearly disassociating. Like it was just like, like how much like, hey, look, you know what? In the gay scene, there was certainly enough straight boys that like you give them enough meth and they turn gay. They don't care. They just want more meth. So it's like, how much do I need to give? Anyway, but he wanted me to take him serious, and he definitely on the first time meeting him put the gun in my face, did the whole thing. And he's like, I may or may not be affiliated with people that, so like he led me to believe that he was part of the Russian mafia, which is relevant for the story at that time. In retrospect today, it's like, was he? I don't know, but it definitely at the time, I thought his people were following me. I mean, I took him. The gun was enough to make me take him serious. Right. But after the phone call from the mother and working with him and the best meth I ever had, like I just, and the looming court date, I was off the deep end. I started using more of the product than selling. And I would just be in these hazes of bonkers using, but I didn't have a problem yet because I wasn't shooting up, which was stupid. I was smoking like $450 a day of the stuff, or whatever. The equivalent of that is, but like, and I started to like the guy because he started, when I would meet up with him and stuff, but I also knew like this was going to be the get that the agents would really want. And, but when it came time for my sentencing, he was already, so I owed him so much money. He was definitely threatening my life at that point. So I was like, I need to get away from that. I was really recognizing that I can't stop. Like I thought I was invincible. I don't think I can stop. I thought I had a little bit of control still, but I was like, I can't stop. But mostly it was this identity crisis of like, okay, I know I'm doing like horrible choices for myself, but I'm the only one being damaged. But does this mean I'm a bad person? I should go to prison for what happened to the young man, especially the mother. So I gave up. I was just like, the fear of going to prison was always so high, but the fear of all this other stuff put me like 1% higher. That's it. So when I showed up for my sentencing, I lied to my parents. I said it got moved. I didn't want to see them. I didn't want them to see me getting carried away in handcuffs. I just was like, I'll call them from prison. And I again with the court-appointed lawyer, this beautiful human being, Dennis Braddock. We stand up there, and this, pipsqueak of a federal prosecutor, probably 2 years older than me, just so young, just stands up and he's like, Your Honor, we're the United States is asking for this case to be dismissed. And even the judge was confused. He was like, wait, what just happened? And he's like, we're asking for it to be dismissed. He didn't know what to do, so he hits the gavel. He's like, case dismissed. And then I'm dumbstruck. My lawyer grabs me, pulls me to a side room. And again, this guy is court appointed. He's done hundreds, thousands of these. And he is beside himself, like pacing, like, what did you do? I'm like, bro.
What did you do?
One of the, I don't know. One of the dealers was a former retired federal judge, by the way. One of the dealers out there, this crotchety old man who was a total sleazy tweaker. His townhouse got raided many times. Like he was a former federal judge. And then there was other people that bullshit. People were saying like, I know a guy who knows a guy, but I definitely didn't believe any of that. Like, ties with the, just bullshit tweaker talk. So I didn't do anything. I didn't think I did anything, and I didn't turn in. And the agents weren't at my sentencing because they were done with me, and I was panicked. And right before, I was like, literally, as I'm walking up to get the sentencing, I'm like, can you tell the agents to come back? I'll tell them everything. Like I was really second guessing everything I was doing. Because I was just realizing I was about to lose my life. Mm-hmm. This judge did not look like he liked me. So Braddock just looked at me. He was just like, I don't know what to say. Like you have somebody watching over you. You have a second chance here. You better not, mess it up. And, I haven't really been speaking about my mom this whole time because I ran away from her with that second boyfriend, and then in the drug scene stuff, like she would call sometimes to check in. I'd give her one word answers, but I remember calling her after and just listening to her sobbing for me. That really got me. And you would think that would be the moment I get sober. The insanity of this, the insanity. I lasted.
Did you ever find out why it was dropped? Or is that no? Oh, I thought maybe that was going to be like the reveal at the end or something. But
so I have no
theories.
In my epilogue, I definitely am like, so one theory, especially how I was treated by the first judge, the VCU judge, the one. Did I tell you that story when I was first? Did I tell that one? The first judge I went in front of, and he was like, "Oh, okay, I did it." Let me tell this story.
Okay.
When I was, did I tell it? When I was first arrested and I was brought in front of the judge, I'm brought into after the disarray, the disorienting thing. First of all, I was put in a holding cell with 50 other men. 3 of us were white. DC was the judicial system was kind of famously racist at this point. I mean, there's a large black population, still is to this day, but it was also kind of really racist. And then when I was brought into the courtroom, which is also disorienting because it's like run like an office. It isn't like how you see on TV. It's a very sort of different experience. I mean, it looks like it, but it isn't. It feels like an office, like filing cabinets, and before me is 2 young black men about my age getting eviscerated for a dime bag of cocaine. And the judge is like, you have to do better for your community. I mean, very coded, racist, like, you have to do better for your, your people, your community, all those kind of things. And he gives them a bail of like $1,000. And, you could tell by their faces that they didn't have $1,000, that kind of stuff. So I'm like, possession with intent to distribute, so much meth, so much money. Like, I'm done. And so I get up before this guy, older white guy, kind of balding. And he looks at my file. He looks up at me, looks at my file, looks up, and he's like, "Son, are you in school?" And I'm like, "I go to VCU in Richmond." And then his eyes light up, and he was like, "Oh my God, how about those Rams?" And I'm like, "What?" I didn't say what. I'm just in my head. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Man, I think they might make it all the way to the NCAA." So I didn't know this, but we had a men's basketball team that was like on its way to like being a big deal, like making its way to the men's Final Four, college, whatever. And I'm just like, mm-hmm. And that's when Dennis Braddock miraculously showed up, and he just was, the judge was like, "Do you accept your corner appointed?" And Braddock sees what's happening here as unusual as well. So he's just kind of like, "Nod your head, kid." And I'm like, "Yep." And the guy was just like, "Okay, cool. All right, well, go back to school. You're banned from DC. I didn't mention that. I was banned from DC. And you're released on your own recognizance." So that's my experience with the judges. So later with my sentencing, this judge could have given 2 shits about race or anything. He just wanted to see me fry. So my kind of theory is, I think they saw I don't know. They must have been overworked and they just have to get rid of some cases. And so why don't we pick the guy who's clearly in school and clearly going to do something with his life? That's my coded way of saying he's white. So there's the potential of him adding to society.
For those of you listening, that was air quotes he did there.
Oh, yeah. I forget. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of those. Sorry, I forget. I didn't know if video was part of this. So that was that. So my theory today, after especially writing it and looking at it, I'm like, and also like, I took advantage of the white privilege when I was trafficking through airports, especially with the racial profiling with the Middle East stuff. And also just, I acted like an entitled middle-class white guy, straight white guy, by the way, because, I can hide my sexuality. I have the advantage of that. I'm an invisible minority, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I leaned into that. And I also feel like I will totally own the fact that I was probably thriving on that. Like the level of invincibility that I felt, it wasn't just the youth of being 22, but it was being attractive and being white and being male. And I was thriving on no, those consequences will never happen to me. I think I fed into all of that without knowing what it was. It was in writing the book where I could clearly see all of those things that I benefited from, if you will. And I don't,
Right.
and again, the dismissal of the case, I know the federal prosecutor's name, and I could email him and be like, hey, 25, 21 years later, yeah, hey, I know you were just starting out, like you were brand new and stuff, and you're much older. You're probably my age now. Like, do you remember why? Like, maybe I should actually, for the benefit of the book. That might be interesting. Hey, look, there's your new thing. I'm having a new thought. Maybe I should just do that. Anyway, so I lasted 6 more
It'd be
weeks.
funny if it was like, oh yeah, there was a paperwork screw up.
Well, I was also told, by the way, that when a case is dismissed, I don't know if anybody knows this, at least at the time when my case was dismissed, I was told they had the option. I had 7 years that they could open it again.
Oh.
Yeah, so I had 7 years. Like which I don't think would have happened unless like I really did something else, messed it up, and they could have opened that and increased my charge. Like, so thankfully 6 weeks later I got sober. And I lasted because Vadim was now threatening my friends. And so I was like, okay, so I should figure
Do you
out.
want to say his name? You didn't say his name earlier.
The Vadim's in the book. Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
His real names are changed in this.
Gotcha. Okay.
But also, like, I don't remember his last name. So even if I say his first name, it's just, But Vadim was now threatening, kind of stalking. And so I was like, okay, I can't leave my friends abandoned here. And I'm going to try to deal a little bit more and pay him back. And that was the only goal. But every time I got a new stash of drugs, I ended up using it. So like the plan was defaulting anyway. And so like I was just sort of, and by that point too, with no money, with nothing, one of my running mates, this girl, her name's Lexi in the book. She's a main point of the book because she was like the one person I could trust with everything. And she was living in an abandoned apartment because it would flood out. It was some former friends lived there, but they moved out, and it was like it would flood out. It would rain. It was a basement apartment, and like you go into like the 600 square foot apartment bottom floor, and it would smell like moldy socks. You could tell where the stains were and stuff like that. And if it rained, you got to sit on the air mattress because it was getting wet. So I crashed with her, and so I was trying to deal more drugs, but I ended up using just the product and everything. And so and things were. I mean, it was getting. I was inching closer towards injecting. I wasn't doing it yet, but I was inching closer. It was harder to get high. I was acting insane. This was like real tweaker. The ones you expect from the movies, kind of just that kind of insanity. And 2 weeks before my 23rd birthday, September 26th, 2004, Lexi turns to me after she's been thinking about this for a long time. She looks at me and she's like, I don't want you to get upset with me, but I want to tell you that I want to go to rehab. And I pause and I look at her and I'm like, I genuinely think this. And I look at her and I'm like, you can do that? Swear to God, I honestly thought rehab was for train spotting the heroin addicts, like in the abandoned house, let alone I'm in an abandoned apartment. Like, yeah. I thought it was for Requiem for a Dream. It was just heroin equals rehab, kind of was the equation. But side note, when I did eventually get to rehab in October, more than half were suburban moms who couldn't stop drinking Chardonnay. Just, just side note, rehab's for anybody.
Now they're on the Real Housewives of something.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? My birthday's in 2 weeks. Let's have a going away party and a birthday party. And we'll stop then. And this was the first time I really said out loud, like, I will stop. And so when it actually came to my birthday and came to the morning when I was supposed to stop, it was terrifying because I genuinely thought I was stopping, but yet my body was still picking the stuff up and still doing it. And I'm screaming at myself. I partied all night. We had people come over to party. I pushed them away because I was like, I couldn't, I just ate shrooms. I ate every drug I could that night and I could not get high. I could not could not get high.
It's the most frustrating thing on. Oh,
and I was like,
been there.
And then I was convinced, exactly. And then I was convinced, I was like, it's because of my tolerance, and now I need to shoot up. And so I'm going to kick everybody out. Let me smoke some more to go to CVS to get the needle, and I'll come back and we'll cross this line together. But when I was smoking it, I was realizing it was the new day. It was my birthday. That's the time I said I was going to stop. And there was the voice in my head that was like, stop, you need to stop. And it was weird to have this tell you one thing, but your body, like literally my body was doing things that I wasn't telling it to do. I was not in control of my body. It was the weirdest experience. And that's when my brain broke. I fully saw and accepted that I could not stop, and I had no control. And the weight of that hit my mind so hard that I literally fell backwards. I was like out of breath. I was like, and I like came to with a new sense of clarity. Like I was a coma patient that woke up and was like from a year and a half of sleeping. And I wake up and I look around and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I couldn't believe I was a dealer. I couldn't believe where I was. I couldn't believe I was surrounded by drugs. It was the weirdest experience of my life. And I caved. Like I couldn't form thoughts. I couldn't form words. And then, I remember I didn't know what to do. I thought I really was going crazy. And I thought I was stuck using drugs because I was reaching for the pipe again. I was like, and then I was grieving. I grieved my future acting career. I grieved my parents. I grieved my past relationships. And then what I haven't mentioned is, I was groomed and molested at 13. I might have been one of the first online predators victims. When I was 4, I was abandoned at my home and walked all the way to the new home a mile away. And my parents didn't even notice I was gone. And that was devastating. And so like I was grieving all these things, and I was thinking about this poor 13-year-old who could still feel all those years. Even today, I could still feel the phantom stubble on my thigh from this man. I was thinking of them and how innocent they were. And somehow in that innocence, that compassion for them, how unfair it was, I realized I needed to do something for them. And that turned on the waterworks. That dropped the pipe out of my hands. I fell down I was up in a loft in that flooded out apartment. There was a loft space. I fall down the stairs. I crawl back to Lexi. She takes one look at me and just launches herself holding me as we like both shake and cry. And it was so innocent because we held each other there, recognizing that there was this window of clarity that opened, a crack like this big. And we both knew it. And we both knew that thing was shutting fast. And we were like, we got to do something, girl. We didn't know what to do. So we opened the Yellow Pages, and there was like 200 rehabilitation centers or clinics we didn't know what to do. And so we just randomly called any number we could. And this beautiful voice of an angel, she was like, it was the first time I said I couldn't stop doing meth, and she totally understood. And they had beds that were opening later that afternoon or later that evening. And we're like, she was like, can you hold on? We're like, yes, we can hold on. Let's do this. And then we hang up, and immediately I want to start using. And Lexi's like, no, we got this. We can do this. And I was like, okay, let me call my ex-boyfriend, who I'm still talking to here and there. He can come take all the product away. And then she thinks she can't do it. So then she calls her parents, who, this is DC. She calls her parents, and they're in Boston. So I'm like, they're not going to do anything. They were in the car a half an hour later, zooming down to come get her, which moved me to the point where I was like, I'm losing it. Maybe I should call my parents. And this is like, I want people to read my book, and I want people to like finish it and like just want to hug their mom or hug their dad, because I picked up that phone. It was Sunday morning. My mother was probably rushing around getting ready for church, screaming at the kids to get ready, like she always, every Sunday morning. It's like I have PTSD of her screaming to get ready for church. But she gets a call from me at like 9:30, 8:30 a.m. Literally, she answers, and literally all I just said was, Mom, and she could hear it. Everything. Just all of it. And it was like the mama bear was activated, and she just goes, where are you? That was it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's just beyond. I mean, like beyond the labels, her being Mormon, beyond me being like beyond all of that, down on just that gut soul level. She's my mother. I'm her son.
When I first got sober, I remember telling, maybe not when I first got sober, but at one point I realized, like, it was all about me. Oh, poor me. I'm an addict and all this stuff. And then you realize, holy shit, the people that love us the most, I never want to be in that position. And I have kids that are now 18 and 20, and it's like they have it so worse off. I mean, it sucks for everybody, right? But like, to be that completely also helpless,
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah,
you're helpless too in a way, but it's heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I understand, like, there are versions of this story that she never answers, or she's like tough shit, or
Yeah.
so whatever. She was able to hear me that day, or I was able to reach out to her that day. I had been avoiding her and stuff, and so they were on their way, my mom and my dad, to come get me. And you know, in this now telling the truth, I was confronted by Vadim,
Mm.
who I completely blanked out on, and then suddenly um, the ex dealer boyfriend whose name's Bo in the book, he must have told other people. So right now there's a bunch of other tweakers showing up and panicking because Sean's leaving. We're not gonna have drugs. Vadim.
Oh.
And so, and then my parents show up in the middle of this, and I'm like, don't even come in. Like, I'm just trying to throw, stuff in there, not having them deal with the tweaker. It's just so funny to see my parents standing there and these like tweakers like coming out of the, like, just my parents surrounding them. And then suddenly Vadim, and who found out where I was. And I didn't seething, murderous, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. Suddenly, though, this honesty thing that I've been writing the last 2 hours or hour, however long it was feeling good. It was like a new feeling. I didn't know what to say to him, so I just said, "Hey, man, I'm going to go to rehab, and I'll get a job when I come out. Can I pay you back on a payment plan?" I didn't know what else to say. I didn't know what else to fucking, and again, we had a bit of a rapport. I wouldn't call him a friend, but we had a bit of a rapport. I was still very attracted to him, but like, I learned about, things about him. Like, we joked, like, there's a bit of a rapport. But
Right.
Still, this is like, what the fuck am I saying to this mafia? Can I pay you back on a payment plan? And so my editor told me to change the wording of what I'm about to say because it's too unbelievable, even if it was true. But I'll tell you the truth.
Okay.
Because I said that to Vadim, and then he just sort of drifts off for a bit, and then he goes,
Can I guess?
"Yes."
Take me to rehab with you.
He said exactly what I said. He said, "You can do that?"
Oh, I like it. Oh, that's even better.
So in my book, I say you can do that, and he says like that you can, like, he says a version of that, but like, and I'm like awestruck by the fact that like more people don't realize what rehab is for.
And you're like, right? I just fucking found out too.
But I'm also trying to like placate the situation. So I'm like,
right.
yeah, man, you can totally do that. You can do that, man. And then he's like, another like wistful moment, and then just sort of like dreaming off. He's like, I've always wanted to sell real estate in Baltimore. You can do that too. And then he takes another moment, and I guess he's inspired, and then he turns back. He's like, you know what, man? Forget about the money.
How much was it? Do you know?
It's probably like 4,000 or 5,000 at that point, which
Oh, okay.
it's not like 50,000, but like 4 or 5 to somebody like us at that time is like, but also to tweakers, it might as well just been $5 million. It's
Yeah.
like the principle of the thing.
Right.
So, but yes, but that amount though, he's easier to like whatever, easier for him to say. Because you're right. Because if it was 500,000, he'd be like, "No, you're not going anywhere. You are my slave for the next 5 years until you pay me back." But he said, "You know what, man? Forget it. Best of luck," and that was it. And then I drive off to the sunset with my parents. And that's where the book ends. But actually, that's not where the book ends, because the book, I do a final chapter up to 2023 when I married my husband, and talking about the journey with my mother, who walked me down the aisle. My very Mormon mother walked me down the aisle of my very gay wedding.
At the temple.
The temple of, hey.
Did you do you watch RuPaul Drag Race?
Do I watch Drag Race? Of course I do. Yes. I shouldn't say of course I do, but yes, I do.
Do you like who won the latest season?
I do. Do you watch it?
I've seen every episode of American. I've seen the world competitions. I've seen the British ones. I've seen the Canadian ones.
Love that. Love.
Well, actually, I had the first winner of the Canadian RuPaul Drag Race on the podcast.
Priyanka?
Yeah, Priyanka's been on the podcast.
Oh, she's just wild and crazy.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Oh, good. I love that you watch all that. Yeah. I've been having fun with that.
Wait a minute. Now I can't think who won. I just watched it like 2 days ago.
Anya Nerve.
Oh, right. I was a little disappointed. I was cheering for Crystal?
Jewel Sparkles.
Yeah, right. I knew it was something to do with a diamond or something. I'm terrible with names.
Well, she had I mean, I feel like, if we're going to go into this, I feel like Anya dominated the season. Like, she actually has the chops to pull it off like she did. I think Jewel Sparkles had the storyline going for her, the arc.
Right.
Growing into it.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, they were all the finalists were amazing. And it was also the last lip sync. I was like, if they were going to base everything on the last lip sync,
sure.
I thought.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
I know that's not how it works. Anyway, this will be all edited out. Probably.
Keep it in. Who cares? So there I am.
Man,
I'm sober.
I made a bunch of notes here, and now it's chicken scratch, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, you got the story out of me. So the book is that. The book is, I mean, there's more. There's obviously there's a lot of stuff that's in there. There's just some incredible characters that I didn't even talk about, and this is what I just gave you is essentially the overview of the book itself.
Right. Well, it's incredible, and do you know the podcast This Is Actually Happening?
No. Wait, how would I know it? Let me write it down.
It's huge. It's on Wondery. Like, they probably get 500,000 downloads a week, kind of thing. I'm kind of friends with the one producer, and sometimes I send stories her way. Would it be okay if I had your?
Are you kidding?
If I did that for you?
Absolutely. Are you kidding?
Okay. Because this is I like these kind of stories. And, I'm also going to send you a link to an episode I did with a gay gentleman who's also in recovery. He's living in Vietnam right now, but maybe I'll actually, before I get into this story, is there anything else you wanted to say or anything like for the podcast, for the episode?
Well,
you didn't talk about.
Yeah. You tell me, like, what do your listeners lean into? Like, is there anything else I can offer them, or just,
I don't know. I haven't. I used to do a lot more addiction stories, and I haven't lately. Just because I like to mix it up,
Yeah.
To me, mental health is like. It's weird that people divide mental health and addictions. It's like, no, it's all the same fucking thing. Oh, I kind of found it interesting that you just glossed over your abuse, because when you were telling your story, I thought of about 7 other podcasts I've listened to or guests I've had on that were gay and went through some kind of addiction that also had some kind of abuse in high school. And I almost asked you, but like, you're such a good storyteller. So like, I just wanted to shut up and listen. But so anyway, I found that kind of interesting that you just kind of glossed over that. But
yeah, I'm just used to getting to the story part, but the because that's the part that people mostly want to hear. But you're absolutely correct. You know, no, and also it's sometimes the harder stuff to talk about.
I know.
That's why you're suggesting that right now.
And I've kind of had my own experience too that I sometimes gloss over.
Yeah. You know, it's actually really funny. Is not funny. I'm just saying that because that's a figure of turn of phrase. I have therapy at 2, and no, it's okay. We can go until then. But I'm just saying that because what I'm going to talk about with him, I have told the story. You know, the book is done. We just did final edits. It's mwah. But the story,
Chef's kiss.
Oh, it's just so, like, I'm so proud of it. The story about the older gentleman who groomed me at 13, 14, or 14, 13. And I have told that story to therapists in the past and many a times, but writing it, editing it, and now this final edit really, you know, and my final editor being my husband, who's incredible at this. And so like we actually talking about it with him and editing it and what he knows about me, I had a new old memory from the final experience with this gentleman. And it came about because I was trying to give the deeper details to my editor husband, to the point where I'm going to be, and I'm proving your point, like there's still things to be, I've shared that story many times, but like, is my unconscious, you know, to survive, probably had to compartmentalize a lot of things, but am I now opening up deeper, like really deep parts of myself that are allowing these old memories to really come up? Because I thought I had it like this happened and then this happened in the experience. I was very clear on that. But then I have this other thing coming up. I'm like, wait, did that happen too? Like it's blowing my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so to prove your point, like, I mean, that kind of work may never end, but it was parts of the story that, you know, there's so much shame because I also blamed myself because I made the choice to go meet him.
Right.
But I'm 13, and he's offering me.
That is so incredibly common.
He offered me money and cartons of cigarettes, and I blamed myself. And it was like, you know, so those are the harder things that to talk about because there's still, my drug story is pretty clear in my mind. Like I can wrap a bow on that and be like, I've processed this. I'm separate from that. That's still in process. I can't wrap a bow on it. So it makes me feel more vulnerable.
And I completely relate. Like my situation was child on child, and it probably took me 2 years of being sober to the first time ever to say it out loud what happened. And then it took like another 2 to 4 years before I would like talk about it to a professional and like start to process it, pull it apart. And I did EMDR therapy. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, that's, you know, I am familiar with it. I've done tidbits of it a long time ago, but it's funny you say that. This is if my therapist says it today too, then I will, because this is the second time the universe in the last week has said that for that specific experience. You know, now that I'm having, I think, new old memories around it, I think that might be the approach I go for. Because I am really again, I thought that experience was processed. I thought it was.
Well, and the other thing that someone told me was it took you this long to get sober and to get healthy enough to even be able to process this stuff, because if you would have tried earlier, you would have relapsed or you would have been in the psych ward or something, right?
Yeah.
It would have torn you apart.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and if I'm having all this stuff come up for me in the writing of my book, 10 years ago, I could have written my book. Yeah, we do
Right.
4-step inventories. We dig into this stuff, but like
Yeah.
writing, like actually like writing and editing and spending the amount of time, it is an inventory times 1,000. Like,
The
and then,
first time
and then this is my fourth step. This is my fourth step, and I've done it like 12 times this year.
I can't believe you said like. I'm getting weird connection vibes with you, right? Because like the first time I ever said what happened to me out loud was to my sponsor during my fourth step.
There it is.
Yeah, and my sponsor was an older gay male, and after about 2 years, I had to not have him as a sponsor anymore because things got weird on his side. I was like, whoa.
He served his purpose. Moving on. Yep.
Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah, which I mean, I guess has nothing to do with him. Yeah,
it has to do with him and not him being gay. Just FYI.
Yeah. No.
I'm sorry. His behavior is not emblematic of gay people.
Right.
But more of, I don't want to call him a predator, but more of those tendencies.
Right. Exactly. So yeah. Wow. Who knew I could relate to a gay Mormon who was an informant for the police, who lives in California, has been on TV. Little old Todd with his podcast in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Hey,
universe.
It kind of proves the point that underneath it all, we're made of the same stuff, you know?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Let me ask you one more question about the abuse thing.
Yes.
Because a lot of younger guys that are groomed by older men, like not adults, they actually feel like they're in a relationship, and then it's like years later, like that's not a fucking relationship. That fucker was doing this to me.
Yeah. Well, okay. So to expand on this, I already set this up. This is when I'm thinking I'm diseased by God, and this is prior to seeing the other young man who may be like me. This is coming. This is me trying really hard to be a good Mormon boy. I just came from a Mormon youth camp where my roommate was like, I had the biggest crush on my roommate, one of my first ones ever. And, I kind of sort of revealed some of that to him, and he just completely shamed me. So I was already, and then I was experiencing, and then AOL, the internet, with just 93, 94, like just hit. And so I just started.
Just hit, like it was a pandemic.
Well, I mean, it was the Wild West. You go to these chat rooms, and I thought I was talking to a boy in Australia. It could have been some older man in London, but I was connecting with people who felt like the way that I did. And so, I was tortured, really trying hard to be a good Mormon, but then I would succumb to the nights when I'd go online and talk to other boys like me and download porn that would take 5 minutes to do like one picture. You remember that kind of thing, that kind of stuff?
I do.
But I was in pain, and this older man, he was like 38, which is so funny now because I'm 43, and it's so funny to think of that. But to me, he might as well have been 100.
Yeah.
He was he was upfront about his age, and I just thought it was gross. But when I say groom me, it was because he started asking like how I was feeling and what was going on. And I just kind of just told him the whole Mormon thing. And he was the first person to sort of be like, they have it wrong. Like, you're okay the way you are. Like, he was telling me truthful things, but like he was grooming me to get me, my young body naked, which I didn't. Right. So that was the grooming.
So by validating you, basically.
Extremely validating, because it was like this adult was telling me these things I hadn't heard before and making me feel good. Ironically, I thought I owed him because of that. Like I was supposed to pay him back for that kindness. And I knew meeting him was wrong, but somehow like him paying me $300 and like 3 cartons of cigarettes at Marble Lights was like, even then I was like agreed to meet, but then I was like, everything about it was wrong. But I was also, and this is the fucked up part, is like, and maybe you can relate to this. I was titillated because, my hormones are kicking in. It is still, regardless of the circumstances, is still a sexual experience. So like the touch is it's messed up because the touch feels good, but it's also wrong. And so that's what you're telling yourself this whole time. And then I felt ashamed because I wasn't getting an erection. I'm 13. So like, of course I'm not getting an erection, you know? And I felt like I let him down. And then I met him a second time, like 2 weeks later, after destroying myself for 2 weeks, blaming myself for meeting him. And the second time I felt like I really owed him. So he got a hotel room, and then that's when a lot of shit happened. And I don't think I made it to the woods barely. I ran away from the hotel room, made it into the woods. And I don't think to this day I've still cried as hard as I did. Like I was gripping the tree because I was crying so hard. I thought I was going to be sucked off the planet. Like that when I started the story, this podcast, and talking about a wanting to die, that's where I was starting from. And on top of that, I thought this was what I deserved. Like I had kissed girls before. This was my first guy kiss. And like, look at that. This is the sinful shit the church is teaching me. This is what I'm supposed to have. This is what I'm supposed to. And that's what I was starting place. That's what was my starting place.
So that was your starting place. This is how our minds work. And this is just an observation. There's no judgment or anything.
No.
Like you wrote the book for the mother of that guy, but as importantly, your starting point is just as important, but yet you glossed over it so quickly.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I absolutely, and I appreciate you saying that and bringing me here. It's hard to start a podcast from that place. I'd much rather. No.
That's fair.
That's fair. No. That part is true, and it is also true that, like, no, I don't want to talk about this part as much, you know. And now we have rapport. I'm comfortable. Everybody's heard everything prior to, so they have a different point of view on what I'm sharing now. But starting from that place, I would have felt more. I would have felt embarrassed. Like I would have felt like I had to explain so much more about myself. But now knowing what you know and delivering it the way I just did, it makes a lot more sense. So it's like,
right. So anyway, I was being raped, and
exactly
for cigarettes,
and because I thought I deserved it for cigarettes. Exactly. Right.
Like, whoa, back up.
Exactly right.
Okay,
exactly right.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, you're right.
you know. So and it's also trying to choose in our limited time, like, you know, what are the classic hits of my story that are people reacting to, that kind of stuff. And this is the guts of it. But I usually only have time to do the anatomy of it, you know. I'm sorry, maybe the bones of it, not the anatomy, but like I don't have time to do the full anatomy. How about that? There we go.
Right. Anatomy is all encompassing.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, you know, I said that boyfriend, undercover boyfriend, lived at my house junior year in high school. I don't know if I said that, because his home situation was so bad. His parents were killed when he was 7 in a bad drug deal. So he lived with his physically abusive grandfather, and his grandmother. And so my mother took pity and moved into our house my junior year of high school. I'm living with my lover, and which we did not have the capacity for, but my eldest, one of my older brothers, not Mormon, very masculine, you know, he caught us passed out on top of each other, and he beat the shit out of us. But he was screaming the whole time, "I love you, but my brother's not a faggot." Boom. I mean, and I was trying to defend him from hurting the other, you know, my lover, and getting in his face, but I would not fight my brother back. I chose not to. I was just punching back. I was like, "I'm not fighting you. Stop hitting him, but I'm not fighting you." And bam, bam. I don't want to talk about that. That's like, you know, that's awful to talk about. That's my brother, like, seriously gay bashed me. But at my wedding, you know, there's a video where you can see my husband and I walking back down the aisle after our kiss. We stop halfway down, we kiss again. You can see that brother at the end of the aisle, and he is beaming brighter than anyone. He is clapping louder than anyone, and there is pure joy in his eyes. And the evolution that he has gone on with where he was and where he started, just like my mother, but a different form. My mother religious, right. My brother, you know, masculine guy, placed in society. Like, he really thought he was loving me in his way. And he was pounding my face saying, "I love you. "Whoa, my brother's not a faggot." Like he thought he was going to beat the weakness out of me or something. I don't want to talk about that. So I'm going to talk about the classic hits that, like, you know,
Yeah.
but that's all in there.
It's all in the book, all that stuff.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And now on my podcast.
And now in your yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, there's still other things, but we'll save that for the book.
Right. Well, I mean, that just goes to show yeah, people can change. People, I mean, we're all young once, and we all thought this was black and white thinking, and
yeah,
I think it's beautiful that you are where you are. Your mom's where she is. Your brother is where he is, and that's what life is. I mean, you all grew. And
life is
if you
crazy.
stay in a comfortable place, you're not growing. And yeah, anyway, I'm trying to say something really inspiring.
Well, my experience has taught me that we really have no idea where life is going. No, there was 5 years where I stopped talking to my mother in recovery because it was just too painful. But now we're reconciled in a more profound, beautiful, I love her more than I ever have kind of way.
And your dad?
He got as far as he could, and he met my husband. The wedding was he was terminal, and so we knew that. So the wedding was kind of like a last hurrah for him as well. But on the night that he passed in the hospital and leading up to it, he did. My dad was a self-described wood board. He wished he was more emotional, but the most he could say he was proud, and he is, and loved us in the way that he could. And he's in the book, but it isn't the same journey as my mom. And that's kind of on purpose, because my dad, for a lot of parts, even though he was there, he felt like he wasn't there.
Right. And I mean, going through this, I'm assuming you've also realized all these people that you're talking about have their own traumas and backstories, and so yeah. That's
empathy. Also what empathy, compassion, which has allowed me to forgive my mother completely, forgive my father completely. I'm pretty sure I'm 80% forgiving of myself where I'm at with everything. I want to leave a little percentage to not feel like I know what I'm talking.
Stay humble.
Thank you.
And motivated. Be sure to subscribe and to like this video. You can listen on Apple Podcast and Spotify. This is Todd Rennebaum saying, make your beds and take your meds. Keep watching for more interviews with incredible people telling their stories of resilience and adversity with mental health and mental illness.